This project is sponsored by AnkerMake. 3D printers. You've not seen us mention them here on my channel, and that all changes right now. Until now, we'd never used one, or even been in the same room as one. But 1 week after we had it all set up, we have printed dozens of items, browsed hundreds more. We've learned how to maintain the printer itself, and we've learned about what this particular printer offers that others don't. There's a lot to unpack, so buckle up and let's see where this goes. It started with AnkerMake reaching out to see if we wanted to try out the AnkerMake M5 3D printer. As usual, when some tech gear has the potential of coming to our lab, we said, sure, let's do it. And actually, it wasn't quite so tame. Raymond got super excited, and so did our kids. A few days later, a large box appeared outside, and the reality set in. We were about to do something that we've never done before, and we were both a little bit nervous. Our workflow is generally oriented toward camera gear. It's something we have experience with. When a lens or a camera body arrives for a review, we know exactly what to do. We get the battery charging, we get the lens mounted, we get a memory card in there, and then off we go to shoot. With a 3D printer, we were left asking ourselves, do we build it? Does it print itself? Who can tell us if we're doing it right? And what can we print? What can't we print? And how do we even turn it on? Fortunately, the unfilmed unboxing was quite simple. We didn't film it because Raymond could not wait for me to finish the project that I was working on to help him film. I told you he was excited. The quick start guide, though, told Raymond exactly what to do, and even the way that the parts were packaged made it easy to assemble with about 8 screws. Raymond did it on his own, but he agreed that 2 people would be ideal. Even so, it was less than 10 minutes for assembly in total. The guide leads you through turning it on and an initial auto leveling process. And I suppose it makes sense that it would need to be level. But again, we're so new to this that we went into the setup not knowing any of the basics. And it was only once we started printing did we look at various other YouTube channels to get their opinions and their experiences with other printers. We'll show you our own experiences in a few moments, but one thing we did learn as we watched YouTubers review other, normally older 3D printers, is that AnkerMake has brought the industry forward in many ways. Let's just say, looking back a few years ago, people's experiences with 3D printers highly varied. Those who tinker or consider themselves makers share the good, the bad, and the ugly about the different printers that they've tried. And we've seen them disassemble, reassemble, and then disassemble again, chasing down quality issues or even finding that their printer doesn't work after a short while. And we've seen some truly amazing work too, things that we can't even believe came out of a printer like this. The more we watched, the more nervous we got about what we might run into, but I'm happy to say that things went well overall. But we do want to give you a candid look at our experience with this printer. As I mentioned, setup was a breeze for Raymond. Like I said, I was wrapping up another project, and Raymond is, well, he's never one to sit on his hands, so he was quickly setting up without me. And kudos to Raymond. He not only set it up, but then relocated it from my desk back here once we realized that its true size. It's not small, but you do need a larger printer like this if you want to print larger objects. It's about 27 pounds, and it will print within a 23 by 23 by 25 centimeter build area. This is a generous size that does give you a lot of flexibility, and more on that in a few moments. Again, we were totally new to this, so we had to learn the basics, like exactly what is filament and where does it go. Again, the quick start guide helped us with that, and when we wanted a more visual explanation, a wealth of YouTube videos are available to help, including AnkerMake's own channel. When you've never done something before, those videos help a lot. I'm constantly amazed at how helpful YouTube can be. So we learned that filament is what your printed items are made of. It comes in reels, and AnkerMake was kind to provide several rolls of their PLA Plus filament in white. We followed the instructions, we loaded the filament, we installed the phone app, we installed the computer app for even more flexibility, and we were printing. One of our kids has some school experience in these arts, and they showed us the Thingiverse website where we could download any number of items. Some were useful, some just for fun, and some that really do appeal to our artistic side. So we were downloading STL files, which, like everything else here, is new to us, but the AnkerMake software loved the files. It showed us the printer bed and then allowed us to control the positioning and scale of the items. We even learned that we could position multiple items on the setup screen at the same time. But for starters, it was one at a time for us so that we could make sure that we knew what we were doing. Our first prints came out great. This printer in particular changed some of our perceptions about 3D printing. One, it wasn't messy to do. And two, we had seen 3D prints years ago from some of the early home machines, and they were a bit rough. More recently, we had purchased some 3D printed items on Etsy for a child. Okay, it was actually for Raymond. But the quality was very good. So going into this, we weren't sure what to expect from the AnkerMake M5. Where on the range of bumpy and rough to pretty darn smooth would our prints land? I'm pleased to say that the prints are smooth, and while there are some instances of stringing, it's just some stray material that's easy to remove. So on the plus side, the quality is great. Just know that you may have a little bit of finish work with an X-Acto knife or even your fingers when the print comes out. Most of the stringing was much like cobwebs, just microscopic strands that were easy to remove. Regardless of that, it's truly amazing how the printer can take filament and render it into a three-dimensional object from these STL files. It's like something didn't exist and now it exists. And if you're thinking, yeah, Leigh, that's what a 3D printer does, I guess it's more profound when the process happens right in front of you. Like, I choose a file, I load it in, and I hit start. And that's it? I guess I just didn't expect for it to be this easy. After a few small items, Raymond came to me and he said, "Wife, we're going to use this 3D printer for an ambitious project. I found a creator on Thingiverse who has put together an amazing version of downtown Chicago." And that may seem pretty innocuous, but Raymond speaks my language when it comes to the art and architecture of the layouts and buildings within downtown Chicago. We both love walking around there, and he started showing me pieces. But then he showed me larger pieces, and then even larger ones. And then the printer was churning out entire city blocks at a very appreciable scale, and he started laying them out on an IKEA table. And what we started working together on was taking someone's art piece that they've posted online on Thingiverse and making it real before our own eyes. And we learned that we could adjust the scale. We could have tiny Chicago, like we started here. And we could have larger Chicago that we can pick up and play with and piece together into a real tangible creation. For me, from my artistic side, this is the tangible set of items that really accelerated my thoughts about 3D printing. There are plenty of practical uses. You can print parts for all sorts of products, or even entirely new useful products, desk organizer systems, games, game pieces, pinhole cameras, and anything else you can think of, really. But it took architecture for me personally to really understand the power and the capability and the quality of what we have here with this printer. This output is something real and tangible that didn't arrive at our house. It was created in our house from someone else's work and that they shared. And then we were able to scale it to the size that we wanted and have it start appearing in front of us. Again, those of you with experience with this are like, yeah, that's what it does. But for me, it was like shooting with a digital camera for the first time and experiencing the tangible results of the capture process right away. And it was so cool when my 6-year-old nephew watched it. He was amazed and wanted to print buildings and monsters like Godzilla to play with. Speaking of cameras, the AnkerMake M5 has one so that you can monitor what's happening while your item is printing. It can make time lapses, but we just like to peek in on it while we're printing. As I mentioned, we took it out of my office and actually put it in the kitchen. We don't eat at our kitchen table, and our kitchen holds one of our bicycles, and I hate to even say this out loud, but Raymond's somewhat redundant Croc collection. No judgments here. I have Crocs. They're sparkly. Raymond and I are still talking constantly and brainstorming about the potential here. One thing for sure is that once we've completed and displayed the Chicago project, we're going to want to push the envelope in more directions. One, which we've only scratched the surface on, is bringing color to the table. There are various colors and types of filament available. And we had good success painting this cute tea bag holder with inexpensive acrylic paint that we had handy, but we certainly have much more to explore when it comes to adding color. In fact, there's an add-on module for the M5 available that helps manage the process of using multiple filament colors. We asked ourselves a few times while creating this video, is this a tool or a toy? And the fact is, it can really be what you want, as long as what you want involves creating things. For me, I see it as an artistic outlet, whether I'm creating the files or using work posted by a creator. I think Raymond is somewhere in the middle, and I've already caught him reading an article about how to make money with a 3D printer. Raymond loves thinking about art, but he loves thinking about the bottom line, and that's certainly fair game with a 3D printer. The fact is, whether it's art, a tool, or a toy, you can make those items with a printer like this and maybe find a market for them also. That can be a real win-win. Like many other tools of the artist, this contraption does require some maintenance. It does come with a toolkit, which is used both for assembly and maintenance. We did have some filament break off in this area called the extruder, where you used an included needle, heated the nozzle using the touchscreen, and then threaded the needle into the nozzle and got everything moving again. Overall, you're using materials that are melted internally here and pass through a very narrow space, fractions of a millimeter. Rather than ignore this, AnkerMake gives you the tools to address it and to solve the issues. And since there's a very dedicated and visible 3D printer community, we were able to watch a video of exactly what we needed to do. I don't want you to think of maintenance or declogging as a headache, though, rather as something that is occasionally going to be a part of the process. In photography, the equivalent might be cleaning dust off your sensor or cleaning the contacts on a lens. It's not a perfect analogy, but when you're making things and you're on the cutting edge, you might have to roll up your sleeves every once in a while to get everything working perfectly again. Oh, and the toolkit has this case with slots for each item, and you guys have to know that that simply delights me. In short, this printer, especially for people brand new to 3D printing, works extremely well. And finding the right project that scratched the itch for both Raymond and I really got us motivated to think about all of the possibilities for creating and making with this printer. Dare I say you'll be seeing more of this printer and the outputs on my channel and social media as part of our normal content. I mean, why wouldn't we? It's another way to create art and let our imaginations run, and photographing these items and sharing them with you is part of the process. And you know we love that. Do any of you have a printer like this one? What have you done with it? Is it a tool for you, or is it a toy? Is it an artistic tool? Let us know down in the comments. And if you haven't used something like this, what are you curious about? I'd be happy to answer questions and maybe even incorporate those answers into future content, or even things you want to see printed. I look forward to seeing your thoughts in the comments. A big thank you to AnkerMake for sponsoring this video, and thank you for watching.